Talked about the Chargers. The idea came up about having something to play for, but also wondering if there's a correlation between like winning those late season important games that get you into the playoffs, correlating to fantasy production. I'm a little bit concerned. I wonder, should I be concerned about stud players that are on bad teams, right? And so I'm thinking offhand, New York Giants, who are 3-8 now, they have Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham. Maybe the fact that there's two of them there is okay, but like Leonard Fournette on Jacksonville, that kind of scares me. Maybe if Atlanta falls too far behind, Julio Jones, and just because we talked about season script, and I think we can, say that these are bad season scripts for, our studs and our fantasy teams. And I just wonder, like, should I be worried? Should owners of these guys be a little bit worried just because they're not on contending teams playing for something all the way down to the season, to the end of the season?
That's a good question and concern. To me, it never seems to be the case because for some reason these guys get up for their games. Like unless you're the Raiders.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, like there's a couple teams that look like they've mailed it in, like Cincinnati and the Raiders seem like they're done.
Yeah, that's why I don't include them, right? I don't include Raiders or 49ers were like teams that are out of it or about to be out of it, they have like studs on their team,
Yeah, I would say no. I wouldn't be worried, although like you always see these players emerging in the second half of the season down the stretch, guys who make it interesting for the next season in fantasy. Like, they'll have guys that'll go off on a tear. I'm sure Odell will get his going forward. Saquon is matchup proof, it looks like at this point. He looks amazing, by the way. And I just wanted to mention Saquon because he's starting to run inside now. He's doing interior running. And someone had said that he played the 49ers on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago, and he tried to bounce everything like he always tried to bounce everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that Saquon must have spoken to someone after that 49ers game because last week against Tampa Bay, he did a ton of interior running. Like I know the Bucs don't have a great run defense, but just the fact that a lot of his runs were coming through the center guard holes, the tackle holes, and and then yesterday again, the Eagles, he carved up the Eagles, but a lot of his, that big run he had was started through the middle. It wasn't a bounce out, basically. And I think that either someone is talking to Saquon and teaching him how to run inside in the line in between those gaps, but he looks even more unstoppable now than he did in the beginning of the year. So
yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And you're right. I mean, these guys always have something to play for. Barkley is exceptional. He's an exceptional player. You put him in the category right now of Gurley and Zeke, and I think you'd probably rather have Barkley the rest of the way than Kamara even, right?
I would say yes, only because of the volume and yeah.
But I'm excited to imagine next year Barkley in a better Giants team and Kamara without Ingram. I honestly, those could be like the two best seasons in running back history.
Yeah,
I still don't know who I pick.
I agree.
I'm a Kamara fan just because he's done it a year longer, but we have yet to see Barkley's best even for this season. So,
well, that's the thing that's exciting about Barkley is that everyone's saying if he had a quarterback or an O-line, and he has none of that right now. So even give him one of those things.
Yeah, but you know what, my brother. Were my sister, he'd be my sister. So, but I'm just saying, like next year, Kamara versus Barkley, we had the debate this year, and I think it'll end up pretty close either way, and I think it'll be a debate again next year, which is interesting. But I think Fournette's the one. Same thing. It's not a worry. He's been great the last two games that he's been back, right? But it's been frustrating. You notice, I noticed because I own him in my home league, but he's had like 95 yards rushing both games. And that matters to me because you get a bonus for 100 yards in my league. So he's literally been like 5 to 10 yards, 2 carries potentially away from an extra 8 points. And like me losing or me winning, you know what I mean? It's like I lost last week by a half a point. And I'm waiting out tonight. I wish I had a little bit more breathing room, and it's like, But also looking for Jacksonville, like they lost those games, right? Which means Fournette's great effort ended up being 95 yards. But had they won those games, he would have 125 yards. You know what I mean? It's like that's the difference in output and expectation, you know? And it's like, in fairness, it was Fournette's fault. He got into a fight and got himself ejected. So that kind of stinks, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like he's had a frustrating and semi-lost year because of the injury, first of all. Now that he's back, I feel like the Jaguars are one of those teams that could be in the Raiders-Bengals category of just throwing in the season, because
that's what I'm worried about. Because 2 weeks ago, when they were 3-5, that division was still winnable, and they felt like they were intact, and they were like, you know what I mean? Like, let's go, let's do it. And then they've lost 2 winnable games, and it's like, again, the idea that they were a good team was predicated upon the idea that, Blake Bortles won't harm them too much. They can run the ball and they play great defense. Well, now it looks like, even though they are running the ball, and Bortles doesn't seem to be hurting them too much, that he's not the story. Their defense, again, like, even if a good defense, there's no such thing as a good defense anymore. It doesn't matter, you know? And if that's half the reason why they're special, then that's why they're not special. But that stinks.
Yeah. Well, look, Buffalo showed me something yesterday that I don't think, the defense is great. And Josh Allen is you say what you want about him, but he's a threat because he can run.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to Buffalo will put up some problems for some teams, especially if they're in Buffalo in cold weather. I was listening to a podcast, and, Jacksonville, obviously in Florida, Blake Bortles is a Florida guy. Jalen Ramsey was a Florida guy, and the teams aren't used to playing in cold weather. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to talk about crappy teams, you had 2 West Coast teams that came and just was terrible yesterday. Oakland and Baltimore.
Yeah.
And San Francisco made Tampa Bay look like a good team in Tampa Bay. So I don't understand why teams can't travel and play a 1:00 game. I mean, how much does it really mess you up?
That's hard, man. That is hard. It's historically, we've seen that West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast. That's hard. Yeah. It's surprising that it is so hard, but it's like, again, we're just talking about like an edge, right? These little things, like these guys, like they operate on routine, and it's the reason why teams have to take a week off after they play in London.
Seattle made it work. Seattle made it work yesterday, though. They came to the East, East Coast.
Are a smart organization in those ways. I'm telling you, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but it's true. Anyway, okay, so we're bouncing around all over the place.
So Fournette, I would be a little worried about personally.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that locker room I feel like there's a lot of characters and personalities in that locker room, and I feel like the players run that locker room more than the coaches, and I feel like the defense probably runs that locker room.
They think that they can still get to 9-7 or whatever, or 8-8, whatever they can get to now.
They're done. So Fournette is on the the offensive line is also, I think, beaten up a little bit. I don't think they're playing on it with their healthy starters on O-line. Fine.
That's beside the point. At this point, every team is who they are.
I wouldn't feel great about Fournette. No, low end RB1.
Low end RB1 I can live with. Yeah, but that's fine. That's what you thought of him anyway, right? It's just like you were hoping you'd get that 125, 130 yard, and that's what it is. So maybe that's the correlation. The thing we talked about with Rivers is just like, at some point, you want guys who are on winning teams more than so studs on winning teams are obviously better than studs on losing teams, but like studs on losing teams, the only difference between them and the studs above them is that they're not winning, right? So they're getting you're getting 84 yards instead of 110 to touchdown kind of thing. You have to live with that a little bit, but it's still more than like people who don't like having Leonard Fournette. You're not going to find a better running back to put in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, the teams are still going to play hard. I mean, it's still a competitive game. Yeah. Teams have a lot of most players on a roster have personal pride, and I think that it's you'll have players giving up on a play here and there, but I guess I wouldn't be concerned.
Yeah, no, there's actually, it's funny. So I went to last week on Wednesday, the night before Thanksgiving, the Raptors were in Atlanta. So my wife and I went.
Okay.
And it was kind of cool. And I was kind of filling her in on the Hawks aren't very good this year, right? They're rebuilding, and But I was just sort of saying, like, you know, the guys on the Hawks here, they're all like either young players who are developing, or they're like solid veteran players or solid pros who are like who can be contributors on good teams. There just isn't a good team for them to contribute to here in Atlanta, right? But like the fact that they're not a winning team, that doesn't necessarily, that stink doesn't follow them from season to season and like the city, you know what I mean? Like, because like the job that they all do, it still counts for something, and it's still appealing to your next employer and your next team. It's like, so you're right. You're right. There's a lot. I guess I get concerned about injury, you know, if something up, but I mean, yeah, I think
players are also getting evaluated for next season too, right? If coaches see that players are giving up and this and that, they'll have a harder time finding a job. I mean, next year. So
yeah, okay, fair enough.